Maybe not. Yes. Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you, ma'am?
I am good. I feel like with this background, I feel like I'm sitting on the shores in Louisiana, having
Oh,
a mint
really?
julep.
Well, anytime you can sit on the shores of the Mississippi with a mint julep, it's a good day.
it's a good,
It's a good day. It's a good day.
it's a good day. So
It's a
I
good
am
day.
good. Yesterday was fantastic, Mother's Day.
Yes.
Um,
Is your mom still with us?
no, my mom's not with us, but
Oh,
I was really enjoying all of the well wishes to our mothers that are in heaven. I was
yes.
mothers that were here. My niece is going to be a mom in a couple of months, so all the moms to be and moms that just became moms. So
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
internet on Facebook was just all it was just everybody was just sharing their love for their mothers and love for women and all of that. So it was a good day. And then I spent the whole afternoon in the garden with
You
my
know,
plant
Crystal, that ain't
babies.
bad. That's just not bad at all. I mean, that's a good day.
That's a good day, huh?
It's a good day. Yeah.
And then my
I,
brother-in-law made
yeah.
red beans and rice and pork chops.
Uh-oh.
That oh man, it was like the
That's a
day.
really good day. So many people talk about, how come there's no good news out there, and I'll just tell you right here and now, I think that's a little, I, I just don't agree with that sentiment. I'm not so
Yeah.
sure about hearing about good news, but I love the idea of uh, bringing joy into the world by celebrating somebody else. I mean, that is just absolutely cool. I lost my mother a little while ago too. I'm going to get your bio here. Just hold on just a
Okay.
minute. Sorry about that. I lost my mom a little while ago, and yeah, for the first few years, it was it was rough. But
Yeah.
now I see people celebrating their moms, be they with us or not, and I just feel super cool. I just think that is awesome. It just
Hmm.
re I don't know if I can reaffirm my mom's love or the feeling that I have for her, but it just makes me feel good that that there are people that are just saying, "Yo, mom." That's
Yeah.
super cool. It doesn't make me feel bad at all.
No.
Fortunately, I have that mindset. There's some folks that don't, but I
I
do.
I know quite a few of my friends have lost their moms in the last. One friend of mine just lost her mom about 2 weeks ago. So she put up a beautiful poem about her mom. I lost my mom in 2006, so it's been a little minute, but it's a loss, right? But then you
Mhm.
feel them with you, and when I put mines up, all of my cousins and friends that knew my mom, they all came back and they shared their memories of their mom, so
Yes.
of
Yeah.
my mom, so it was pretty awesome. So there's quite
Yeah.
a my few of my friends have lost their mothers and fathers. Some of us.
Mm.
I don't know about you, but I felt because I lost my mom, my father was not really in my life, but he was gone too. My stepfather was gone. I felt like an orphan, and here I was, well into my 40s and 50s, feeling like an orphan. It's like you missing a piece, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're blessed. You have your dad.
I am incredibly blessed. I have my father, and I just sent him his Father's Day present, and he was super happy. I don't know how, I don't know why, but for the last 2 to 3 years, I've sent my father his Father's Day present right around Mother's Day. I don't know what's up with that, but I don't know. But he got it. He's jazzed, and that just makes me feel like yay. So
Yay! That's good. Wait,
yeah,
you didn't send what you did last year though. That was misinterpreted for.
I hope not. You know, I don't think so, but
Okay.
know, you never know how these things go. You got That's the cool thing about sending a gift. It's a bit of a risk, and that's all right. But I sent it because I love my dad. So if they misinterpret it, I'm letting it go.
Okay,
You
all
all
right.
can
So
deal.
you do realize because I could actually make that statement that
Yeah.
we've been together for a year.
Oh, really? Oh, that's true. That's true. You're right. I can't believe you're still hanging out with me. That's amazing. Oh, I must be giving you some good drugs. I just tell everybody here on the show, I'm not paying her. I mean,
That says
she's
a lot.
crazy.
We've been hanging out together doing this show
Yeah,
for
that's
a
amazing.
year.
It's been a great year. This is a
Yes, it
great part
has.
of my life. So thank you for that.
Thank
Well, let's
you.
get to it because I'm really
Okay.
excited about this topic. We're going to be talking
All
about
righty.
why some people think 401ks are a bad idea. So I tell you what, you've got some questions there,
I do.
so we can do that. First, I think we're going to talk a little bit about history, a little bit about, I think you mentioned the difference between pensions and 401ks, and then let's get right into the questions. We've got about 4 of them I want to go
Okay.
over, and then next week we'll do the same thing, but hopefully 4 different questions.
Okay. All right. Sounds
Reasons.
good to me.
Okay, so first of all, who is Crystal Mitchell? Well, one part of her is a business coach and consultant, CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, another online radio show, instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry. Okay. Certified Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Thank you, my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell, for joining me for this enticing hour.
All right. Enticing.
Enticing.
And who are you, my friend?
I am your local, I'm Jevon Thomas, your local neighborhood retirement plan advisor. And I specialize
Okay.
in company-sponsored retirement plans like 401ks, 403bs, that kind of thing. And on top of that, I'm extremely opinionated. So
Okay. Well,
here we go.
that's the makings of a good podcast, being extremely opinionated.
Let's hope.
So let's get our first question. What is a 401k?
Okay, good deal. Great question. The 401k is an employee benefit. It is provided by an employer. You must contribute W-2 wages, so it can't be just something you think about there. The money has to come from your paycheck. If you're the owner of an organization, we figure some things out with your K-1. But essentially, it's an employer or an employee benefit. And there's some rules. You have to put the money in from your paycheck. 2 rules to understand, or 2 rules that mark your dates that you need to be aware of. 59 and a half, which is when you can start taking the money out. If you take the money out before then, there's a penalty and taxes, and we're going to talk about that. And now 72, when you have to take what's called a required minimum distribution. And that's where the Department of Labor and the IRS get together and they say, you've got some money, we're going to tax you, and you have to take it out. You have to take some money out, and we're going to tax you on that. Okay. So we're going to get hopefully into that a little bit as well. And then, and that's basically it. You can borrow, and then there's some employer little things that some people stick to, but that's basically an employee benefit where you get able to save for retirement.
And what is why the 401k? What's the history? Where did it start from and why?
Yeah, I love that question. So, in my humble opinion, because there's all kinds of reasons for this, but in my humble opinion, back in the 80s, American businesses recognized that they were losing the game with regard to competitiveness because employees were expensive for one reason, the pensions they had. So if you're going to keep someone around, or if you're going to keep paying someone after they were gone, you got to put those numbers on your books. And that became very expensive. There weren't very many countries that did that. So in order to become more competitive, companies said, we need to do something else. That's one way to look at that. And the way they decided to do that was to put the responsibility of saving for your retirement on the individual. So now individuals get to, I'm going to say it that way, they get to create their own destiny by saving for themselves. Now, a lot of people just don't think that's a good part of adulthood. They think they should be taken care of. They think that they need that and that they don't understand what's going on. And I, as an advisor, suggest time to get educated. This
Mm,
is, we need some self-reliance going on here. And, it is tough, but most things that we need to take care of as adults require
mm-hmm,
some training and some attention. And
mm-hmm.
that is the way that goes. So, yeah,
Okay.
makes
All
sense.
righty. My next question is, what is the difference between a pension plan and a 401k? I know like some governmental entities don't have 401ks. They have something different, right? So
Yeah.
what are those differences?
Well, the chief difference between a 401k and a pension is who pays. That's the that's the big bugaboo there. Who pays the money? In the case of a pension plan, the company slash organization, they put up the money. They say that we need to have X amount of dollars saved away so that when something happens, when this person retires, or once this person retires, we can pay them X amount of dollars. And that's generally, if we go back to the times of my grandfather and a couple of generations before that, that was for lots of folks 75% of your highest grossing years. You take your highest grossing years, all three of your highest grossing years, you put them together, you average them out, and you get 75% of that, and off you go. And like I was saying before, that becomes very expensive for companies. So a lot of companies don't do that. And now I think that we have shareholders, this is just my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
that makes you even more uncompetitive. You're robbing shareholder value if you're giving that to your employees. So it's not all
Mm-hmm.
good news. So, in order to keep companies more competitive, well, let's face it, we do have to be competitive on the world stage. Um, Companies are now saying, hey, you can take care of your own retirement. I don't want to get any letters or anything like that. There are some folks out there and I say we can still remain very competitive if we had that, if we have a pension program. And I cannot disagree with that. I really just can't. Unless you're talking to a very small company, unless you're talking to a very small company, um, and I have to say that the last time I did the research, over 80 some odd percent of Americans work for companies of less than 100 people. And it's pretty tough for those companies to come up with putting money away in the form of a pension. It's a big ask, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So while if you work for a large company, a pension might be quite possible. Not everybody works for a large company, and so
Mm-hmm.
that makes things kind of tough. So it makes things kind of tough. So we have pension plans where they come up with a formula to figure out how much you're going to receive from their saving, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's an ongoing thing. And then we have the 401k plan where the participant pays, and that's why we call it a deferral, and that's why we call it a participant directed plan. The plan is directed by the participant, um, and so the in order to qualify for that section 401k, the participant has to put the money in. So
Mm,
um, the participant puts the money in. We call that a 401k plan, a 403b plan if you work in a nonprofit organization, perhaps a
mm-hmm.
457 plan if you work for a government organization. Those
Okay.
plans are all pretty much the same. Participant puts the money in. Sometimes there's a match, sometimes there isn't. Same rules mostly with regard to when you can take that money out. There's a few differences though, Um, it's like a 403b plan. If you work a number of years, you may be able to put in more. That kind of
Mm-hmm.
There is no, but they do have that standard. Employee puts the money in. They have to wait till 59 and a half or some formula to get the money out. The money is for retirement. It's not designed for investing or buying a home or other things like that. So it is for retirement. Sort of the government stepping in and saying, no, you will not use this money for what you want. You will use this money for retirement because we said so. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So now,
That's
is there a profit sharing? Is that a difference? Can you have both, or it would be one or the other, a profit sharing plan?
Oh, yeah. Well, profit sharing comes with the 401k. Every 401k plan comes with a profit sharing plan.
Okay.
Most of the plans that I write for people have a profit sharing plan, but we call it a discretionary plan. That is, the employer decides whether they're going to take advantage of that or not. And typically, the 401k plan will have participants' contributions and they'll have employer contributions. And we call those employer contributions profit sharing. And those of you that have bought plans from me understand that I hate the word profit sharing because I'm not so sure that's what's going on. I'd rather call them employer contributions, but that's
Okay.
my thing. You know, these people that I don't know if they're sharing the profit. That's it. And of course, if you happen to have a 403b plan or a plan like the company I used to work for, where they weren't a nonprofit but a not-for-profit organization,
Okay.
then if you're a not-for-profit or a nonprofit organization, then you really aren't sharing your contributions. You're not sharing your profits because you don't have any.
Okay.
All
Oh,
right?
okay.
But you can still have employer contributions.
Okay. Well,
So
I did not know that. Okay. So there we have it. I even learned something there.
oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So our and I know you talk about helping the employer become more competitive in a very competitive business world. Are 401ks worth it for both the employee and the employer?
Well, the simple answer is, in my opinion, yes. This is our show, so I can give you my opinion. I would
Yes,
say
you can.
yes. Uh,
Okay.
from the employer point of view, I think they're definitely worth it because if you want to hire someone, especially in their 30s and 40s and beyond, we're looking for benefits, right? We want to spend our time at a place where we get the most bang for our buck. And that means we get to take care of our family. So that means health insurance. It means we want to save for retirement. We want to buy that house. Saving becomes dramatically more important. And so a 401k plan helps you do that, right? And so I think it's very important. The benefits become very important. When it comes to younger people, people that are in their 20s and maybe in their early 30s, I think a lot of them, they're kind of like I was in my 20s or 30s. I was trying to buy beer, I had a girlfriend. I was trying to do things with my girlfriend and pay off bills. That's the deal, right? I was not thinking about saving long term. I wasn't thinking about how this was going to help me buy a business. I was thinking about buying beer and paying my rent.
I said that.
That was pretty much it. So when you're looking, it really depends on who it is your audience is, and there are lots of companies I think that are struggling now because we've got folks that they don't want to put the time in to become vested. They don't want to put the time in to earn this retirement plan or earn
Mhm.
this. They want it now.
Mm.
And I think companies are struggling with that. How do you keep an employee around who's fairly young? You get that new blood and that energy, and yet they leave in 2 years.
Mm.
That's tough. We'd rather have folks that are going to come into the organization, stay for 10 years. Okay, this
Mm.
we can
Mhm.
deal with. How do you encourage that? I think one way to do it is for Americans in general to honor older people. That's one,
Mhm.
and put into the minds of just about everyone that you will get old. Let's start preparing for it.
Right.
Many times I write retirement plans, and I do employee education, and the person's father will say, "You got a new job? Yes. Get in the 401k." And I will say, "Why are you here? You're so young." And they're like, "My dad told me I had to do this." Oh, okay. So there we go.
And I would think it also would increase the level or the quality of the employee that you're going to bring into your company, because they're looking, if they have that on their mindset, if that's, you sit down and go, okay, what does the company offer me? Oh, does it have a good pension plan, or does it have a good 401k? then that's a different kind of conversation. I would think that you would be having an employee. They're looking long term. They're looking of being part of your organization to help you continue to grow your organization with at least a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year goal in mind.
Yeah, I think you're knocking on the door. I think we're of the same mind. Um, if you're in your 30s and 40s, you have what we call experience, and that counts, and it's worth paying for. And employers are cognizant of that. Well, if you can't increase their salary, if that becomes difficult, adding a pre-tax match or helping with healthcare, that becomes another option, right? I mean, that's another reason to have those, other than the obvious of if I'm sick, I can't come to work, or if my family is sick, I can't come to work. We also know that one of the biggest reasons why employees have not so good home lives is money and the stress that comes from that. And this is one way for employers to help smooth that out a little bit by saying, okay, at least we're looking on retirement's door and we're preparing for that. So they can take that stress off the table. There are many stresses that folks have financially. Retirement is one of them. And you know about that when you start to get into your 30s, I think.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about the reasons, the good reasons, the pros. What are some of the bad ideas a person might have before they actually spoke to you, the retirement advisor?
Interesting way to put that, Ms. Mitchell.
Before they sat down they may be coming with a cadre of ideas
There you
that
go.
haven't been backed up with reality. So what
There
would
you
be
go.
some of those concepts that they may have that 401ks are a bad idea?
I love it. Okay, let's get into it. So, question number 1. You can't access your money until 59 and a half. And the article that I read goes on to say that's a big problem because number 1 is your money. And number 2, you can't get to it. And often people start their 401ks when they're young, which means their costs are super high at the beginning. So here you're putting this money away, you can't get to it. That's tough, And I don't disagree with all of that. If you need all of your money, if that's the case, then you don't have enough money to put into the 401k. That's just the way that goes. How do you take care of yourself? You have to do that. You cannot rely upon someone else to do that. So, it's a bigger issue than, in my opinion, it's a bigger issue than we don't have enough money to take care of our kids. It's an issue of how do we take care of ourselves? That is the point. And no one said that you have to put in X amount. I mean, most financial advisors suggest that most Americans put in at least 10% of their savings. You may not be able to do that, especially as a young person.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that every bit doesn't hurt, right? And I don't know of any investment vehicle where you don't have to come with some money. If you're saving money to buy a house, you got to do that. Can you put 1% away in order to do that? I don't know. You can put 1% away in your 401k plan, right? If you're needing money, if that's your deal, is I'll just flip the house. Well, you need something for the down payment, right? How are you going to do that? And I think, and I'm going to say this a lot during these questions, the 401k, number 1, isn't for everyone, right? But it's also not the only tool in the toolbox.
Okay.
It's just one part of your retirement savings. And if you have someone who you can mentor you with the things you ought to do in order to save for retirement, or to at least get started on there, hopefully they're letting you know that we need to have a diversified investment type portfolio. So maybe we need to put some money in real estate, we put some money away in investments, we put some money away in life insurance. not one of those is going to be a standalone investment tool. You got to do it all. And I know that's a lot of figuring to do. And I know
Mm-hmm.
when you're 20 years old, you don't want to think about it. But if you want to take care of your family, if you want to take care of your kids, I would say start having those conversations early with regard to what's going to happen when you get out of trade school, what's going to happen when you get this business going, what's going to happen when you are getting that person ready for living their life. And if you don't have the skills, find someone who does. And that's not tough. Most
Mm-hmm.
people will give you that time. They'll try to sell you something, but they will give you that time, an hour,
Okay.
2 hours, something like that, so that you can ask questions and you can do what you got to do. But yes, the money's there because we don't want you spending it. The government doesn't want you spending the money. That's why it said 59 and a half. You're not supposed to spend the money.
And I think also life happens, right? It's like we have emergencies crop up all the time.
Mhm.
And so sometimes something that you may have directed, but a lot of times it's not. So sometimes it's completely out of your hands and it's a completely external. And you find yourself without a job, and you find yourself going through all of your savings because of maybe some medical something another, and wipes out what you were trying to save yourself.
Yeah.
And here I would think would be something that's just kind of like protected, like away from you, with
Yeah.
restrictions for you to be able to put your hands on it.
Right.
And so then when that time comes, when you're going to retire, you're not without.
Right. In a perfect world, we'd have situations, and I hope people hear this a lot or hear this. We'd have situations where you would say, okay, I make X amount of dollars, whatever those dollars are. I'm
Mhm.
going to put X away for retirement. I'm going to put
Mhm.
X away for an emergency situation. When I get 69 months of emergency situation bills taken care of, maybe I'll stop that. Um, I'm going to put X away for my child's college, right? And
Mhm.
I know that used to be a lot easier than it is now, but I'm going to do that.
Mhm.
And I'm going to put X away for emergencies and vacations and baseball gloves. But I'm going to allocate funds
Mhm.
across the spectrum of my needs. And some of those needs are going to be short term, some of them are going to be long term, but I'm going to allocate funds for that. In a
Right.
perfect world, we would do that. Do I do that
Right.
myself? Oh, no, I don't do that. But in a perfect world, we would do that, right?
Right.
I need a 401k plan. I need one because I'm not a very good saver and I need to be forced to do it. I don't want to, I'm going to be one of those people that if somebody didn't force me to do it, put some restrictions on so I couldn't get at it, I would spend it and spend it
Okay.
happily. That is me. So,
Happily, huh?
happily, happily. So I get it, 59 and
Okay.
above. It's a bummer, but it keeps me having some retirement. And yeah, I've had some tough times. Starting your own business is not always a cakewalk.
Mm-mm.
It
It's
ain't, it
no
ain't, it ain't.
guarantees of money coming in on a weekly
Mm,
basis.
no, no, no. And so I applaud
Mhm.
people who stick to the 9 to 5 and get it done or whatever they have to do because they do have those good benefits. I don't think there's a problem with that. I like that.
Mhm.
That's a good
Mhm.
idea. Right? So there's the 59 and a half. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes. That used to be like when we were growing up and your parents would say, "Son or daughter, I want you to go to college and I want you to get you a good government job or a teaching job or a
Yes,
nursing job so that you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to you in your retirement."
exactly. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right, right.
Right. But
So, are
learn.
there any myths about the employer match? What exactly does that mean? Um, and how does it what value is that to me?
Okay. The article that we read says a couple of things. One of them is don't 401ks give you free money? I mean, what about the employer match? And then the other one is companies don't match 401k plans. or companies don't match 401k plans can pay higher salaries, right? Um, and that this one suggests that for every dollar an employer, on average, contributes to a 401k, they pay 99 cents less in salary. So,
Okay.
in the bottom of this says the employer match is simply a reallocation of your existing compensation package of what the company can offer to pay you based on your skill set. And I think that's all true. It is. It's very
Okay.
true. It's not a
Okay.
reason not to get in your plan, but it's all true. And I've never referred to the match as free money. I mean, lots of my colleagues do. It's not free money. Your employer has decided that for the skill set that you have, that they're going to pay you an additional 3% or 2% or whatever it is.
Right.
Right. And I think if they're smart, they're going to say, you got to have some skin in the game, which means that we're going to match your salary. You got to put some money in, and then we're going to put some money in. But make no mistake, it is not free money. If they felt they could keep you for lesser amount of money, they would. And that's why it's a negotiation. And a lot of us didn't realize that. You know, I'm going to come to work for you. Yeah. You're going to pay, and I'm going to pay you X. I'm not going to come to work for you if you're going to pay me X. Well, I'm not going to hire you if you want X more. And then we have to negotiate that, right? And it's always
Right.
been that.
Right.
It's just that we don't think so. And that's hurt a lot of us. But the point of the matter is, it is not free money. And for some people, they would rather have that money. I know when I was in my 20s, I'd rather have the money. You're going to give me 3% and put it in my 401k plan. You get a tax break for putting that in, right? I mean, it doesn't cost you 3% to put it in. I need that 3%. Beer is expensive. Rent is expensive. and
I need it now.
I need it now. And I got
Right.
to pay up these college loans. I need that now. I don't need the match, right?
Right.
So I get that. But I would say it is for retirement. It is not free money. And it is money that you're getting that you may not have gotten because, let's face it, in the world, if an employer doesn't think he has to match, or if she doesn't think that a match is really doing all it's all cracked up to be, she might decide, I'm paying you enough. If you want to save, you save. If you can't really get it done, right? Maybe you need to find another gig. If this gig doesn't pay you enough, maybe you need to do something else because this is what I'm paying. It's a harsh reality, but we do have a supply and demand world
Yeah,
slash
that's where
country.
we are right now. Well, actually,
Mhm.
we're in it's the reverse right now, but because they're looking, but they're not looking. Employees today are not. Money is an issue, but they're also looking for more work balance culture. They're looking for some
Sure.
culture as well.
Yeah, it's part of the
So it's
benefit
not.
package. Right?
Yeah, this part of it, and I think that's a good point right there, Javon. Is I've worked when I worked for in corporate America or worked for someone as an employee, which has been a long time. But when I was in that space, I worked in the accounting department, the HR department, and
Mhm.
benefits. And so when we would forecast out our budget for the year per employee, your salary package is more than just the salary. It is
Yeah, we call that
actually
total compensation.
is a whole compensation, which is any vacation time, pension benefits, um, uh, sharing of profits, commission, whatever,
Healthcare, all of that.
health care, your health package, your health insurance package, your life insurance package. And in some cases, a good employer will where you have vacation time and sick time. So that's the entire. So we take all those numbers together, and that becomes your full. So you may be hired in for for a number $60,000, but when we add in the full compensation package, it literally could be much more, $65,000, $70,000
Okay,
based
I think
upon.
that's cheap. I think it'd be considerably more than that.
Yeah, it would probably be more than that. It's probably almost maybe close to half of that, more.
At least
Yeah,
about
up
sometimes
at
about half.
least that. So, and that's per employee. So, depending on your number of employees you have working for you. So, I think employees don't necessarily always see that, right? They
Right.
do see that all that extra as free.
That's free. Yes.
Yeah, it's free.
Free.
As opposed to, no, that's your entire compensation package. And I know when I would talk to new employees that came in, okay, I would lay that out in very detail. So this is your compensation. This is how much you're going to get paid on a biweekly. This is your vacation package. This is how many sick days that equate to X amount of dollars, and if you leave and all that sort of stuff, then we would for whatever the past your probation period, we compensate you for whatever vacation you'd earn, all that,
Mhm.
including all of that. So this is your full package, and I would make sure that was very, very clear. So
Yes.
on exit day, we didn't have a whole lot of this. Asking for where they free stuff is.
Right.
Well, actually, it wasn't on exit day. It was day of payroll. I'd have a whole line of people lined up going, wait a minute. No, remember what we talked about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think there's a lot going on into this. And the article I read, that we have a society here that wants to take care of people, and we have people here that are struggling, and I get it. And so, it's this is an attempt by our society to take some of that burden and off of the employee. At the same time, as we were talking before, there are rules, right? And um, there are things that you have to do in order to get what you want. And so most people who say, I'd rather have the cash, uh, you know, or some people who say I'd rather have the cash, they'd miss some of the benefits. Like, oh, I'm 25 years old. I don't need health care. Why don't you give that $600 or $800 a month to me so that and if I didn't have to put my own $600 or $800 in, so I could have that extra $1,200 a month, that would go really far.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, if you get sick or someone in your family gets sick and you can't come to work, you're not working, or if you don't get the cover, if you're not covered, stuff happens, right? We can't do that. And we would rather, for some reason, I'm not so sure why, but in this country, we tie health insurance to the company. You get this company provided health insurance. And many folks that work in large companies, they don't really understand that it is expensive to do until they leave that company and they get to that Cobra issue and they're like, my health insurance is $2,000. What the heck? So,
Oh yeah, I mean I
yeah.
remember I was in the insurance industry as well when I first started out, and it changed. It's
Yeah.
somewhere back there about 25. Well, actually, toward the end when I was leaving and going solo, I, I remember my first job. Oh, it was, who knew? Insurance, I didn't pay nothing for it.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Yeah.
long-term disability. I had
Yeah.
a
All that
home
stuff.
care. I had all kinds of stuff. But I worked
Mm-hmm.
in the industry, so they threw the bathwater and a whole bathtub with you. You could go to the doctor and feel confident that you didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah. I remember having those days. They were good days. Oh,
Those are good days,
need to have your
man.
wisdom taken out. All right, that's a $100 copay, and we'll take care of that very well for you, Mr. Thomas. You have great insurance. I liked that. I was eating ramen noodles, but the teeth were taken care of, right?
Right.
Well, we got a little different situation now. A little different. A little different. Anyway,
Right.
let's go on to question
So our
3.
next one is, can you talk about the delayed matching and vesting? What does all of that mean? I mean, do I
Okay,
get
so Go ahead.
Do I have to have a long time in? What does vesting necessarily mean? And is
Okay.
it different for different companies?
Yeah. Vesting is dramatically different, and it has a similar issue, and that is that employers don't really like the idea of people coming in for a short time and then leaving. Right?
Okay.
So they put on a vesting schedule to hold you there. So you'll hear people say, I need to work for X amount of years until I can be fully vested, and then I get to move my money out and do whatever I want to do with it. So vesting holds the employee in the mind of the employer there. And the employer realizes, and it should be no secret, that if you have a 4-year vesting period, let's say, and you leave in year 3, you're leaving 25% of the money that the company contributed for you, because the vesting schedule only goes on the company contribution. So all the money, and let me back up and say this, all the money that the employer puts in the plan, it's always theirs. It cannot be taken away from them. You contribute it, it's yours, it grows. When you have a vesting schedule, it's only on the money that the employer contributes. And sometimes, if you happen to have a safe harbor plan, you're 100% vested. You own the money. Vesting you can refer to as, when do I own the money? Is there a 4-year period where I own the money from the employer? Because you always own your money, the money that you put in. Does that make sense? You always own your money. So why do they do that? Well, they do that to hang on to you, right? They make you wait a year to get in so that they don't give you a match and then you leave. Because remember, it's not free money. The money costs something. So we're going to pay you less for the first year until you prove that you're going to be here a while, and then we'll pay you that match. We're going to pay you less, possibly, if you leave in the first 3 years, right? With not having to pay you the last 3 years of your vesting period. So why do companies do that? Number one, they want to make sure they get long-term employees. Number two, they don't want to expend cash that they don't have to, because you're gone. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. Right?
Okay. It does make a lot of sense. So here's the next one. And I have to read the kind of the quote that came before this, before the question. So Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, indicates that an asset puts money in your pocket and an asset creates cash flow. So the question is, does 401ks produce cash flow or income?
Well, the big knock is that they don't, because you don't get paid until 59 and a half or retirement. So that's not so good if you need the cash flow at age 40. Right? It's tough, right?
Right.
Man, I'm not even going to fool with the crazy stuff like, well, what if I get a loan, or what if I take a hardship withdrawal? Let's not even go there. Let's just say that, yeah, you're not getting the money until you're 59 and a half. And along the way, you don't get to do what you want with it. It is put away for retirement. And so you could say that until you reach 49 and a half, or until you reach retirement, let's say, it's not an asset because it's not producing cash for you.
Okay.
You could say that. I would say maybe so, maybe not, because there are investment returns. The reality situation is you don't get the money to put in your hot little hands, right? If you were to invest in a mutual fund outside of your 401k plan, there would be perhaps dividends and perhaps capital gains. You would have to pay taxes on those, but you would have the money, right? You would have it. Here, you don't have to pay taxes on them if you do a traditional one. And they grow tax deferred. They grow, but they're not an asset because they don't come to you personally. Okay, fine. That's true. That's not a bad thing, I don't think, because if you had the wherewithal to save, and most of us don't, if you had the wherewithal to save that money and invest it, we wouldn't need 401k plans.
Right.
Everybody would just do that, right? So I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at some of the examples they have, like real estate. If you had, bought some houses, which I think is a fine idea. In fact, I would say that if you understand the concept of rent, and if you could buy 8 or 9 houses in your lifetime and they all produced an income for you to live on in retirement, God bless you. Please go ahead and do that. But
Mm-hmm.
how much do you need to save in order to make that happen? I mean, Mr. Kiyosaki has some ideas about how to get around that, but I don't think everybody has the wherewithal to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So for some people, that's just not a cool game. And who wants to be a landlord? And for some people, you know, I have a landlord. I don't know if she likes me. I mean, and I don't, I have, I don't blame her, right? I lost the key to my apartment once. I went to my
Uh-huh.
landlord. It's like, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night. I'm knocking on her door to give me a key to come to my apartment. I don't know if I want that life. Right? I don't.
Yeah,
I had a
pretty
buddy
fun.
who lived in an apartment. He had a dog. The dog chewed up the corners of the hall, the carpet, just chewed them up, just being a dog. They
Mm.
left that apartment. Somebody had to fix that. I don't know if I want to be a landlord, right? So and that's not to say that, landlords are good or bad, but every investment vehicle out there has risk. It does.
Yeah.
And every investment vehicle out there is good for some people. It's not good for everybody else. If you can't afford to put 1 or 2% away in your 401k plan, how are you going to afford to save up for a house that you can buy and rent out? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. If your parents are going to say, hey, you need to pay for your own education, we'll help out. What are they going to say when you say, Mom, Dad, I want to buy this house out here in Southern California? It's only going to cost me $600,000. Can you help me by buying that? Not
Mm-hmm.
all of us have parents that can do that. Mom, it's just my starter home. I just need half the down payment to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of our parents have the wherewithal to do that. So
Right.
I don't know, what are you going to, oh, I'll just start a business. Well, you and I both know how that works, right?
Takes
I
a
mean, that's
while.
rough.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years before you come out the black. I mean, come out the red.
Yeah. If you're good,
If you're
if,
good at what you
if
do
you're
and
good at what you do,
you,
right? If the
you have a
stars,
plan.
how many restaurants fail within the first year,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
True that.
everything has risk, I think. So they don't produce income right away. Yes, that's true. And that's a good thing because it keeps you from
Right.
spending money. Uh,
But let me ask this. So you start early and in investing, I mean, putting money into your 401k, but your money is being invested somewhere though, right? In some
mhm.
vehicles in order for it to grow. So what are traditionally those vehicles that your money is being invested in? And do you have any input? That's part B of the first question. Do you have any input as to how that money is being invested?
Okay, so yes, you do, and that is a great question. There are three assets that we generally deal with in this world of financial management. There's stocks, bonds, and cash. So your 401k plan should be made up of investments, mainly mutual funds, that involve stocks, bonds, and cash. And you can choose the mutual funds that you want to invest in within reason, right? So there are
Mm-hmm.
over 800 stocks changing, or 800, 8,000 stocks on the mutual fund,
Right.
the stock
Uh,
exchange.
Stock exchange. Uh-huh.
There's over 8,000 mutual funds that you can choose from, right?
Okay.
So there's a lot out there. So it's very possible that you can get a very well diversified portfolio. And the theory is a well diversified portfolio with the right mix of stocks and bonds for you, reevaluated and rebalanced on a regular basis. That is your best bet to having money when you retire. But don't get it wrong and don't get it twisted. People down in 2007 bought houses. And in 2008, the market tanked horribly for houses. So those folks bought houses at the top of the market, and some of them didn't feel like they were going to be, quote unquote, above water until 2010, 2012. So what would have happened if you had to wait that long in order for that to come back? Same thing happens in the investment market. The same thing happens. You put your money in your 401k, the market tanks, all that money is gone. You've got to make twice as much in order for that market to come up, in order for you to come back to zero, right? Because just or in order for you to prosper, because you put the same money in that you lost, that gets you to zero. And then you got to put some more money in to get past that. Well, the market has to go up more for you to get past it. If you have a 10% drop, you've got to put in you've got to get an increase more than 10% to get back to profit. So yeah, I get it. But you have to understand the vehicle, right? Because every investment vehicle that I know goes up and down. Now, some folks are going to say, well, if it goes up and down, that's fine. I just don't want it to go below zero. I don't want to lose my investment. And that's cool too. I get that. But you don't make money unless you risk it. That's why they call it risk, right?
Right.
If you can't afford to risk it, the water's too hot. Don't get in there. Stay out of that kitchen. Stay out of the kitchen. Stay out of that water. So what do you do? I mean, how do you navigate that? What do you do? Well, number one, I would say you have to diversify your investment portfolio. You need to have some real estate. You need to have some this, some of that. You need to have some 401k. You need to have all of that. The other thing is that you have to understand, what you're dealing with, right? How does that tool work? If you go to the beach and the tide comes in, you have to understand the tide's going to come out. So where do you put yourself? Do you put yourself at the point where the tide starts to come in and hope the tide's going to keep going out and keep going out and keep going out and keep going out? It's just not reality. If you buy your 401k plan and you put your money in, you cannot expect that money to just grow and grow and grow and grow. It just does not work that way. If you play baseball, right, you can't start at second base. It would be great if you could start at second base. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Okay? If you're baking a cake, you can't just put the eggs in. You got to put the flour and the salt and the sugar. You got to put it all in, right? And then you can't just turn the oven on. You got to turn the oven on at a particular degree, right? There's some rules you got to follow. And even then, if you live up high and the airplane goes over, your cake falls. So,
or live low and then it doesn't rise.
Right? As you can tell, I've had some cooking issues. So, yeah, it's not an asset to your return till you get to be 59 and a half, where you can take that money and do something with it. I would say until 72, where you actually have to take that money out, right? Or let's say you take the money out and you put it someplace in an IRA, which is generally best for most folks after they've retired or left an organization, to put the money in an IRA and then it's in the market and they can let it grow. So yeah, but the best thing about the 401k plan, though, I think, is that you know the rules. Get the rules and act accordingly. And if that rule is something that doesn't make sense to you, find a way to make it make sense and work it. Work the rules. How does this fit into my life? Okay. And, I'm looking at these things here this person suggests. You could do crowdfunding sites like Fundrise and Lending Club in order to raise money for that unexpected child. Yeah. Okay. How much are you going to get?
Not a lot.
This one says This one says you can get real estate funds like whatever Capital Group. What's the minimum initial investment?
Right.
You can get in your 401k plan for 1% of your salary. Let's see you do this at 1%. You could get yourself an income producing business. Yep, you could buy one. I don't know, right?
But you got to have money to buy one. I mean,
Have
it's going
money,
to take you a
right?
little while
Yeah.
to create an income producing that can take you into retirement.
Exactly. Right. So and these are all fantastic investment vehicles, fantastic vehicles. Peer-to-peer lending. Oh, someone's going to loan you the money. So you're 25, you're just out of school. Someone's going to loan you some money. That seems to be rather expensive to me. How much is that loan going to cost you? And when's it coming due?
Mm-hmm.
So,
No, true.
you
That's
know,
very, very true. So again, if having it and it being available for you, because you don't even know, you may not even be healthy. You might have to leave your job because of health. You might have to take a early retirement because of disabilities, and now you
yes.
can't work, right? And so knowing that you've put your time in and you put that money in when you were young, now it's there to take care of you when you're
Yeah, I mean,
older.
and, and there are the penalties that you have to pay if you take that money out early. If you need to get to the money, there's some
Hmm.
penalties you're going to have to pay. But that's why we we suggest you know the rules and act accordingly, right? Um, no one investment option is right for everyone, and I don't think one particular investment option is the best. They're all going to have ups and downs. You cannot get away from the ups and downs. Um, I think the prudent person profits in the downtime. It's like an athlete. You make money in the off season, right?
Hmm.
That's when you make the money. You make money
Hmm.
in the downtime. You make your money in the downtown with every type of investment option, no matter what it is.
I,
You just have
I
to figure out
agree.
what that is. You know?
I was talking. You'll like this. I was talking to a friend. Gone out to breakfast with a friend of mine's last weekend, and on Friday. And so we're talking about his business. He's an entrepreneur like myself, in the accounting field as well as myself. He does taxes. So we're talking. He says, "You know what?" He goes, he did some um, enlightenment during the pandemic. And he says, I've been talking to friends and I'm looking at life differently and I've had an epiphany. And, I'm just realizing that you have to enjoy your life, right? You have to do the things that you like to do, enjoy the things you like to do, because no time is promised to you. So he says, and I
Very
have
true.
some friends. Um, he has, I have some, he says, I have one particular friend. He spent his whole life, he says, um, his whole goal to life was retiring and getting his retirement money. That was his whole goal for his whole entire life. He went, I think it should be more, but I think it's a good idea. He had that goal, but I think there should be more.
A little more,
but
yeah.
but he had reached his goals. He had reached the bucket list, was to retire and get his retirement. And there are people out there that, Javon, they do get it.
I think
And
you're right. You know,
there are some people
you're
out there that do
right.
get it.
Yeah, there are. And, I think the problem that we have is we don't understand that concept of balance. We think we do, right? It's what
Hmm.
balance is what I need.
Yeah.
That's not the way, that's not the way balance works, right? And so, you know, eh, unfortunately, we live in a society, a community sometimes where we don't have a good understanding of balance from my point of view.
Yeah.
Others would say, you know, balance is having a family and you don't have a family, so you don't actually know what balance is. I don't know if I can argue with that. They may be true, right? But I know
Well,
one
I
thing:
don't know. Everybody's balance is
balance
different.
is different, right?
Everybody's life is different. I mean, everybody's needs and goals and desires are different. And
They,
I don't think that means you don't have balance because you don't have a family, and you don't have a family yet. You haven't taken your last breath.
right. I do have a family. They're just old now. I have sisters and
But
parents.
I
I
think
got,
they
I
mean
got
your
them. I
own.
didn't just show up on the planet. I got
Yeah.
some family,
I
but
think they were
I
meaning
just
your own personal
exactly.
family.
I was
That's
just
what they were
talking with
meaning.
a friend of mine, and he has just adopted two young girls. Dude's 60. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're
Yeah.
teenagers, and I'm thinking, wow, And his idea was balance for him was, I've been given so much, I
Yeah.
want to give back. That's
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
Very cool, right?
Yeah.
But I talk to other people and I'd say, get them off the payroll. That's balance.
Right. Depending on when they started. That's when you have to make those decisions. When you have to you make those. And some of us, especially when it was it's Mother's Day yesterday. And I know quite a few of my friends we don't have children ourselves. We're aunties and godmothers, and in my case, being an educator and a lot of my I spent a lot of time helping and working with children to help them have a better life. I was telling another friend of mine that does some of the same thing. I said, "Well, if we really counted up the the children that we've actually invested in over
Hmm.
the time frame that we've done it." I said,
Yeah.
between the two of us, I know my count would probably be about 1,500.
Wow.
So and so for her, because she has an actual physical school, and so hers would probably be 3, 4 thousand kids that she's invested, or it maybe even be 5,000 kids that she's
Oh, wow.
had a major impact on a child's
Mhm.
life. I said, so
There you
yeah,
go.
we've had children. We
Yeah.
just did it in a different way. We didn't
Right. And
physically
not
have
always
them.
at the best time.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
not always at the best time. Exactly.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think the same thing there is your definition of what's the best life and what you want to leave when you leave this planet. That's what it
Sure.
is.
Yeah, I think you're spot on.
Mhm.
Well, we're at the end of our show, but I'd like to um, read your bio one more,
Okay.
and then we can close out. Is that
All
cool?
right. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, everyone, you've been listening to Why Are 401ks Bad? A discussion about 401ks, and we're going to continue this next week. But before we do, I want to read the bio of my friend and colleague Crystal Mitchell. So here we go. Crystal Mitchell is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, a co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, a weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Thank you, Crystal, for joining me today and all of our wonderful guests. And if you've got some last comments to take us out, we'll let you close the show.
I think that I think that seeing the full, broad explanation of 401ks and pension plans can help you make a better decision for your future life. And you should be open to that. So, with everything in life, I think it requires research. And so that you can make a better decision on how it will enhance your life or hinder your life. But you can make a better decision with that information.
There you go. Well said.
All right.
Well said. Well, like I said, thank you for joining me. Thank you all that joined us. We're going to be back next week with more questions from the point of view of why our 401k is bad. We'll have that discussion and we'll go from there. And we'll see you next week. Thank you
All
much.
right. Have a good weekend, everyone. Hope you all had a good Mother's Day, and we'll see you next Monday, same time.
Yeah, there we go. Bye bye now.
All right.